Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Bedford's Cost Segregation specializes in generating significant tax savings via their engineering-based studies for commercial real estate clients nationwide. Founded in 2002, Bedford is one of the largest independently owned cost segregation providers in the country, with over 14,000 studies completed to date in multiple offices throughout. The most important decision ownership can make when incorporating cost segregation within their real estate portfolio is selecting the right provider. With only 43 certified cost segregation professionals nationwide, Bedford is proud to employ 8 of them and takes the quality of their people as seriously as their studies. Every certified cost segregation professional has passed a rigorous test combining knowledge of technical engineering issues, legal tax issues, ethics standards, and requires a strict level of prior work experience to be eligible. Bottom line, not all cost segregation providers are created equal. So be sure to take the decision seriously from the beginning to protect yourself for years to come. Please contact Bedford's Business Development Director, Frank Judici, to learn more. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Rodney Thompson. Thanks for being on the show, Rodney.
Thank you, Whitney. Appreciate the invitation.
Rodney is a husband to one woman for 35 years, a father to 6 wholesome kids, and a new grandfather to one. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Right. After spending 30 years in IT as a system administrator, Rodney was looking to create income in retirement and found commercial real estate was a way to accomplish that goal. So Rodney, again, welcome to the show. And I know your story is going to be one that so many of the listeners and myself can relate to, and just looking forward to hearing more about that. And just this transition, we talk about it often on the show, but I think it's worth talking about because everybody's story is unique, but also it's something that it's so hard to make that leap and make that transition. And so, tell us a little more about who you are, Rodney, maybe where you're located, and let's jump into just, your transition into real estate syndication and why.
Well, I am currently residing in Minnesota. I'm from Texas. Got to get that in there. And we moved up here about 13 years ago. We were looking for a little more terrain and some cooler weather, and I think we kind of jumped from the frying pan into the freezer. But other than that, it's not too bad. But my past is, I tried various things and ended up settling in IT, and I'm still actually involved in IT. I plan on retiring next June from IT. And that's kind of a story all in its own because, when you run across a lot of people, why do you want to retire or why do you want to quit or transition to a different occupation? And, there's a lot of people out there that have various reasons for doing it, whether it's, just to do something different. But for me, I wanted to get to a point where I would have the freedom to have income and be able to spend time with my wife and my kids and my grandkids and be able to travel and do those things and still have a business that was producing income. And, we have had single family houses here and there over the years where we've rented those out and property management, not property management. Right now, we currently have a single family home that we use as an Airbnb. And, but my wife has always been saying, we need to be in self-storage. We need to be in self-storage. And I had no idea about anything to do with syndication. And all I could say to her was like, well, that's a great idea, babe, but how are we going to plunk down, $250,000 to buy this facility and manage it and that type of thing? And so we just kind of put that off. And 2 years ago, right at 2 years ago now, I heard about this awesome thing called syndication, and I started learning more about it. And I came about it because, we were going to look at wholesaling. We were going to look at just buying more single family houses, duplexes, and that type of thing, which I think is where everybody kind of tees on real estate. And I was listening to a podcast and somebody started talking about multifamily syndication, and I started researching it, and there was some pretty compelling reasons to be in multifamily. And so I started down that path, and I got my start in that in April of 2019. And I made a goal for myself that by September, I was going to have a deal. And so I just put my nose to the grindstone. I started getting up at 4:30 in the morning, or actually 4 o'clock. It was kind of a progression. I said, well, I'll get up a little bit early. Let's do 5:30. And then it was 5. And then pretty soon I just said, I got to get up at 4 because I was running out of time before I had to go to my W-2 job. And so 4 o'clock in the morning, get up, get after it, answer emails from brokers, make broker contacts, and just start the whole process of analyzing deals one right after the other. And pretty soon I found a deal that looked like it was going to work. And we started working on that, turned in an LOI. Our LOI was accepted. And then the fun began.
And how long ago was that?
That was, we closed on that in December of 2019.
Nice. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. There were some heated moments that I can tell you about because we had a hard close date. It was an REO property, which means it was bank owned. So they wanted to have it closed in 2019 and there were no extensions, which made it quite exciting. Tongue in cheek on that completely.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. But also what I want to hear more about though right now is your thought process behind making this happen. And because it's a difficult one, and you and I briefly talked about it before the show, but just, you made the goal and you said deal by September, but all of a sudden, your daily habits, it sounded like anyway, maybe you can highlight on this, your daily habits changed to make this happen. Is that right?
They did. And if you're working a current job and you want to make this transition and you want to make it a smooth one without just doing an abrupt quit, which I didn't have that luxury, then I had to rearrange my schedule, and my family was completely behind what I was doing. And so they understood that I was going to be up early, and sometimes I had to go to bed late, but sometimes I went to bed. My goal was to be in bed by 9 so I could get up by 4. And, but that gave me, that time gave me a solid 3 hours of work on my business before I went and rented my time out to somebody else.
Gave you a solid 3 hours. Wow. I mean, think about when you're that focused too, knowing you only have 3 hours, I bet it was pretty productive. And you think about over a long period of time, what you can accomplish with 3 hours, extra hours a day, because you're purposeful about when you went to sleep and when you got up.
Right. And one of the things here that you were asking about the success, and of course it's an ongoing journey, right? I mean, I don't think that too many of us arrive. Maybe we do, but work like the deadline is that afternoon. Right. is what I have to say that you have to have in your mind.
So to highlight more on what did that 3 hours every morning look like? Were there specific things you knew to focus on, and maybe other things you had to say, that's just not important, I just can't focus on that, or say no to?
So, because it was, social media can be a time suck. And so I would make sure that was not in front of me until that evening. and just concentrate on answering emails from brokers, emailing brokers, and analyzing deals. And those three things, and the email, that was just a quick, right then, when I was kind of getting started out, I wasn't getting the deal flow that I get now through my mailbox, but it's just finding a deal and going through the numbers, putting it down to see if it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, then you move on. You can't get married to it. You're not going to, if you sit there and you try and make it work, which I've caught myself doing before, you're wasting time. I mean, there are things that you can do to make a deal work. And the more you do that, the more you learn about things that you can adjust to make a deal work. But being able to recognize that a deal is worth spending that time versus not spending that time, I think is something that's really good to learn quickly.
Yes. So, I wanted to go back to, and, maybe you can highlight, I liked how you said, your family was behind it. They were behind this decision. The schedule had to change completely. You said, how did you manage to still be at home while you're at home, I know, when I was in that transition as well for a couple of years, I mean, it was difficult when I'm having dinner, like that's what's going in my mind constantly, like the business stuff or emails I need to get back to or investors or whatever, it's difficult to actually be there. Or I missed most meals for those 2 years with the family, but even when I was there, it was difficult. Did you have a way of segmenting that, or that you stayed with the family?
So most of my time that I was working, everybody was still in bed. So that is really the key to, well, there's two things. And part of it is, like this COVID situation that we're in, where a lot of people move to working from home, and, they're working at the dining room table or they're working at a desk in their bedroom. And the one piece of advice I have for that, and for if you're trying to work as a syndication business, is get a separate space. And whether it's a spare bedroom or a cleaned out closet or a corner in the basement where you can close it off, that is so key and so important to being able to concentrate. So you're not distracted from noises that are going on in the house. You can carry on a conversation without interruption, and you mentally can stay focused on what you're working on. And so those two things, finding a separate space, getting up before everybody else, and then there's always going to be some evening stuff, because you can't do a deal presentation at 4:30 in the morning for most people. So right. You're going to have some evening time. And just, I'm a little bit fortunate because my kids are older. So, I don't have, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. So that can be a totally separate set of challenges. And I think that having the family together and everybody understanding, that, dad is working now, and having mom behind it, it's really important to be all on the same page. And then I think that it makes things easier.
I could not agree with you more. I like to say you have to paint a vision for the whole family, right? So they can see where you're going to. They don't just see dad missing every day, but they actually can visualize where the family.
Well, we sat down and we said, hey, right now, if we spend this time doing this and we're all pulling in the same direction, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be able to go to Europe for a month. We're going to be able to, get in the truck and pull the RV around the country for a month. And this is stuff that not a lot of people can do. And that got them excited. And then they understood why, I was doing what I was doing. And then in the evenings, we still had dinner, unless there was some odd meeting, but I always try to schedule the meetings around family time. So you can't just dump your family. You gotta really make sure that they're included and they understand what the end goal is.
They're definitely part of the team, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more with what you said about that, Rodney. And so tell me about, I know you mentioned this a little bit before we started recording as well, but, staying encouraged during that time, because it's, and you mentioned it being a lengthy process. Could you elaborate on that and just how you stayed encouraged? Because it's hard, especially after you're 6 months in or a year in or 18 months in. I mean, and it just still hasn't paid off yet. People start questioning you more, right? Are you really going to keep doing this? And, all these things, can you elaborate on what that looked like for you?
Well, everybody always says, you're your own worst enemy, right? And you can be your own worst enemy, but you can be your best cheerleader too. And then having your wife be a cheerleader as well, or your spouse, whoever is in this journey with you, if they're all pulling for you, then when you do get discouraged and you can talk about it, then there's a lot of times where I would be discouraged and I just sit back and I think about what my end goal is, where I want to be, and that will push the reset button on your brain a little bit. And maybe it's putting something aside. If you're working on a deal and it's just you're beating your head on the wall, put it aside, work on some other aspect, whether it's your website or get on LinkedIn and do some networking on LinkedIn, because even though that's quote unquote social media, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, and that time is well spent, in my opinion, because I'm forging networking relationships with people out there that are not only in my industry, but not in my industry, because I have investors and things like that monitor that type of thing. And when I comment on somebody else's LinkedIn post, then all of those people see my stuff at the same time. And so there's a lot of engagement that goes on there. So that's to me is as important as doing all of the deals, because you're building your network. And then come back and work on whatever you're being frustrated with. Now, if you're just frustrated because you don't seem like you're going anywhere, that might be a bigger pep talk. But you hear a lot of people talk about the magic of the first deal, and I do think that exists. And if you can just tell yourself to get that first deal, then it's easier to talk to brokers. The deal flow increases. You gain confidence. Your knowledge will grow just by working the numbers and working in the industry and talking to people. Your confidence grows, and that really helps to energize you. It does me, at least.
No doubt. And I know, Rodney, especially in the beginning, and I don't know that it ever ends, but the processes that you have to have in place are kind of overwhelming in the beginning, and just things that you don't know what you don't know, and things that need to happen, especially when you're in the process of doing a deal or raising capital or, working with investors. What was it for you that helped you in the beginning to get some of those processes down that helped you get to the first deal or even close the first deal?
I think it was my narrow focus. What I brought to the business was an analytical mind. And spreadsheets aren't my most favorite thing. I'll just say that, but I can get myself into a frame of mind where I can focus on that. And that was the one area that I knew that because 2 + 2 = 4, no matter what business you're in. And I knew that I could get in and start analyzing deals. And that's what I focused on. I initially didn't try to learn all of the nuances. I understood how the process worked from start to finish at a high level. But as far as where I focused, now, if I would have reoriented and let's say I was going to be a capital raiser, that's where I would focus. And I think that being an expert in the one area really helps you move along through the process.
The number one reason people struggle to close deals is because they don't have enough money. And that's because they don't have enough passive investors waiting on the sidelines, itching to get in. Is this you? The only way to fix this is to flip the script so that instead of chasing money, money chases you. By flipping the script, other syndicators raise all the money they need in 48 hours or less. How do they do it? They apply the techniques that you'll learn at the virtual Raising Money Summit on October 1st through the 4th. Adam and his team are pulling back the curtains with top syndication experts to share their secrets, systems, processes that empower them to never struggle raising capital ever again. And you can learn this from home while watching online. Are you ready to start learning how to attract millions of dollars for your next real estate deal? Listeners get a special pricing of only $97 by texting Whitney to 55444. That's Whitney to 55444. No doubt. No doubt. Did you I guess what gave you confidence to the first deal? Was there something else? Or I know, you've had coaches and different things that I know other people talk about, that's something that really helped them. Was that something that really helped you, or was it, a group of people, or was it other experienced people that you just already knew? What was it that gave you the confidence?
I think it was a combination of those. I worked with some other people in our group that had syndicated deals already. So I was able to bounce off of them what my thought processes were. And then they were able to tell me and steer me in the right direction if I wasn't going in the right direction. And then, my years of experience in management, you don't always approach every situation knowing all of the possible outcomes and all the nuances of it. And so I think that if you approach a situation with confidence and ask the right questions, you're going to find the right answers and be able to make the right decisions to move forward. And so that I believe helped me in my confidence in talking to a broker, because like I had a broker one time trying to push me to increase my LOI. And I said, no, it first of all, the deal doesn't warrant the extra money. Second of all, I think that our offer is solid. It's solid. We're going to stay where we are. And we did. And so I think that just being able to have confidence in what you are doing helps a lot.
What's been the hardest part, Rodney, of this syndication process or journey for you?
I think that gaining the confidence to be able to talk to investors. You're going into a new industry that you don't have a lot of experience at. And when you're talking to somebody, you're wanting to give them confidence that when they give you $50,000 or $100,000, that it's going to be properly cared for. And so that can be nerve-wracking. It really can. So that's
a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And I've been in sales in the past. I've sold cars, I've sold insurance, and asking somebody to sign on the line for a $35,000, $40,000 vehicle, it wasn't that big of a deal, because they're going to sign on the bottom of the line. They're going to get in that car and drive off the lot. But this is it. Even though it's a tangible asset, it's kind of an intangible process of sales, is like, give me your money, trust me with your multi-thousands of dollars, and I'm going to magically turn it into double amount in 5 years. And
Right.
that can be very intimidating. And that was my biggest, and the mindset is, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to seem like I'm begging for money. And the thing that everybody needs to get in their brain is that you're presenting an opportunity to somebody to be able to invest in a solid deal run by people that have experience with a proven track record, because this is where the power of syndication lies. If you can team up with somebody, then your inexperience is overshadowed by the person that you're working with's experience. And you need to rely on the person that's already been doing this for years, that has a proven track record. And that's where you get the person to understand that it's not just you, there's a whole team of people. And this is one of the powerful things of syndication, is being able to work in a group like that and have various experience levels. And so for you to lean on and for you to leverage when you're talking to people.
What's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
I have started doing a live show every Wednesday. And, there's a lot of people you talk to and they're like, you need to start doing podcasts, or you need to start doing some type of way of getting information out to people. And it does a couple of things.
Is this at 4 a.m?
Yeah, no, we do this on Wednesday evenings at 6 o'clock. And it's called the multifamily roundtable, the weekly multifamily roundtable. And we stream it live to Facebook and to YouTube. And it's really good because it forces you to be comfortable talking to new people. It forces you to be comfortable to talking to an audience out there that's going to be listening to you, that's going to have questions that they want you to answer. And it also lets people come to know you and what you do. And so, you run across a lot of people. It's like, why would I want to do a podcast? I mean, there's thousands and thousands of them out there, but Apple's podcast statistics just keep going up and up and up and up. And most everybody you've ever talked to say that it's not too late to get into podcasts. Do podcasts, because not everybody's going to like listening to, Michael Blanc or Rod Cleef or Whitney Sewell or Rodney Thompson. They're going to find their person that they most relate to, and that's who they're going to listen to. And it might be you and it might be somebody else, but there's a lot of people out there listening. And so a podcast has probably been the one thing that, and really ours is not a podcast. I really haven't a live cast maybe, because we don't do a traditional podcast. And, but that's really been good. It's really been good.
Good. Wow. Well, good for you, just stepping out like that too. And no doubt it allows people to get to know you and learn that, well, Rodney's now in real estate. I mean, because at first it's a big transition for people to even think about. They always knew you as this IT guy or, whatever.
Yeah.
But what's been your best source for meeting new investors? Is that it?
That has been it. And then I use MailChimp. And so that goes out to people that, are on my list that know me, and referrals that speaks volumes. And so if you can, referrals, and they always say, start with family and friends. And if you're like me, well, my family and friends are broke. So, where do I go from there? And so, but everybody knows everybody. And you'd be surprised who's in your circle of influence, that if you really sat down and started writing out everybody, whether it's your dentist or your real estate agent or your banker, those are people to talk to, because those are people that are investing. And there's something else that I've discovered too, and it's don't prejudge somebody. You always hear don't judge a book by the cover. Well, I can tell you that there are people that are fairly unassuming that you would be surprised that they have $100,000 in the bank that they're ready to place somewhere. So never assume that somebody is, oh, that guy over there, he's got lots of money, and that guy over there, probably I shouldn't talk to him because he doesn't have any money. That's a bad practice to get into.
Very much so. Very much so. I agree 100% with that. You never know who you're speaking with. I've had to learn too, and you probably can relate to this too, Rodney, like every conversation, like be focused on that individual and how you can help them. And I mean, it's just like they're $1 million investor, and no matter what they're wearing or what they look like, because you never know. What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success, Rodney?
I think perseverance. We were talking about that before, but just the drive to not give up, to want something different. I know that seems like it's really a vague thing, and some people say, well, MailChimp or my website or any of these things that we all build out. But all of those things are just tools. And those, you could have a box of tools and not know how to use any of them. And so I think tools are important, that they're all cogs in what it takes to make your business function. But I think that what you have inside, your drive, your ambitions, your goals, is really what makes things go down the road.
Rodney, how do you like to give back?
So I play on the worship team at my church.
What do you play?
I play bass. And I really enjoy that. And then because I'm in IT, I take care of all the technology stuff at the church. And the other thing I love to do is try to add value to people's lives. I mean, I think that if you go out with the mindset of what can I do for you versus what can you do for me, it changes your outlook on life. It changes people's perspective of you. And when you enrich somebody else, whether it's through, helping out a neighbor, or like on LinkedIn, offering up information, or if it's a fellow syndicator that they're having troubles with something, just try to add value to people's lives. That one thing that is, I always keep it in the front of my mind. It's important. Very
important. And I appreciate you sharing that. Very much so. And just grateful to hear your story and how you made this happen. And I feel like, a lot of those struggles are not highlighted too often, in interviews, and people that have made it to that first deal and, made success in this industry. We don't hear often about, getting to that first deal. And that's where a lot of listeners are, trying to make that happen. And so I just appreciate you highlighting that, Rodney, and even just the family component and the importance of that. And I just always appreciate that as well. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
So you can catch me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can hit my website up, which is Solaris CM, like capital management. So Solaris, like Polaris, but only SolarisCM.com. And then you can send me an email, Rodney@SolarisCM.com. And my phone number is 507-458-7959. But I'm very active on LinkedIn. If you go out there, you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.